A desperate woman, a broken man, a dangerous secret. What happens when two wounded hearts collide? Watch till the end to find out. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so to stay updated with the latest Nigerian movies from us. Today, we're discussing a captivating new Nigerian movie that goes beyond mere entertainment. It's filled with valuable life lessons, so you definitely don't want to miss this one. Let's dive into it. The story begins in a living room where a young woman named Laura appears desperate. She is seen pleading with an elderly man named Mr. Frank. He eventually brings out some documents for her to sign. Once she does, he hands her some money and she leaves. However, when she gets home, she receives heartbreaking news. Her mother has passed away. Her neighbors gather around to sympathize with her. Meanwhile, a young man named Fred is shown staring blankly at a mirror, looking like a shadow of himself. His friend, Dave, calls to check on him since Fred hasn't shown up at work for several days. Dave promises to come over immediately. When Dave arrives, Fred opens up about his pain. He recently discovered that he had been raising a child for 3 years, only to find out the child wasn't his. Dave comforts him and manages to cheer him up as time goes by. The next morning, Mr. Frank rudely wakes Laura from sleep, calls her names, and tells her to get ready for work. She obeys without question. That same morning, a young couple, John and Joy, are enjoying time together before Joy heads off to work. When Joy arrives at her workplace, she's scolded by her boss, Laura, for coming late. Laura warns her sternly that if she continues running after men, she'll only end up being used and dumped. Shortly after, Laura receives a phone call from a friend. During their conversation, she opens up about her mother's death, which had happened over a year ago. They talk at length as the moment unfolds. Later that night, Laura sends her apprentice, Joy, on an errand. While Joy is away, Laura tries to make a phone call, but it doesn't go through. The next day at the office, Fred is still deeply affected by his situation. He tells his secretary to cancel an important meeting scheduled for the day, as he remains emotionally unavailable. On another day, Laura prepares to take her son to school. She asks Mr. Frank for money to cover school fees and other basic needs, but he refuses to give her any cash. Laura, clearly frustrated, tells him that he's a failure for not being able to provide for his family. In response, he slaps her in front of their son and then storms off. That same day, Fred is still drowning in his sorrow. He and Dave go to a local bar to unwind, and they witness quite a bit of drama there. Later that night, Laura tries to explain to Mr. Frank why she only prepared a small amount of rice and stew. It was all she could afford since he didn't give her any money. Instead of understanding, he feels insulted and chases her out. The following day, Fred searches everywhere in his house and car, but can't find his wallet. He calls Dave to inform him, then goes to his office to check, but still has no luck. Finally, he remembers the bar they went to and heads back there. He meets the owner, who turns out to be Laura. After describing the wallet to her, she teases him a bit before returning it. Fred thanks her and leaves, feeling surprised at how she managed to make him smile. Later that day, Laura catches her salesgirl with her boyfriend right inside her shop. She gives the girl a stern warning and threatens to have the boy arrested if he ever returns. She then dismisses them both. Meanwhile, Fred is seen sitting in his car, still amazed by what he experienced. The next day, Dave and Fred talk about Laura. Dave compliments her, calling her eloquent, smart, and beautiful. He encourages Fred to make a move on her, and they both enjoy the conversation. Later that night, Mr. Frank comes home to find Laura taking care of their sick son. He complains and insists that she should take the boy for native treatment because he has no money for hospital bills. Laura says nothing and quietly walks into her room. Now, think about it, guys. Why would a man treat his wife like this? Let's keep watching to understand what's truly going on behind the scenes. One day after office hours, Dave and Fred are chatting again. Fred tells him he wants to hang out at the bar the following day. Dave finds it unusual but agrees after some convincing. The next night, Fred and Dave went to the bar again. As they relaxed and enjoyed their time, Fred couldn't take his eyes off Laura. Later that same night, Laura's sister visited her. Laura opened up and told her about how she had signed a document because their mother had taken a loan from Mr. Frank and couldn't pay it back. To prevent their mother from going to jail, Laura felt forced to do whatever she could, and now she's trapped in a 10-year deal, with only 3 years left. Her sister encouraged her to divorce Mr. Frank or find a way out, but Laura, being a woman of integrity, refused. She said she was just seeking guidance until the deal ends. This is truly heartbreaking. A day later, Fred was on a phone call searching for a document when he stumbled upon something that reminded him of the child he had raised, who turned out not to be his. The painful memory overwhelmed him, and he went to the bar alone that night. He got so drunk that he began to say many things, and Laura had to help him out of the shop. When she finally got home that night, she had a heated argument with her husband, Mr. Frank, for coming home late. The next day at work, Dave teased Fred about what he had revealed the previous night. They both laughed and enjoyed their time together. The following day, Laura stayed home to rest. Suddenly, she received a call informing her that an agent wanted to evict her from her shop. She rushed over and tried pleading with the agent. While she was in the middle of this, Fred arrived and saw what was happening. He stepped in and paid off the shop's rent. Laura was deeply grateful and prayed for him and his daughter. Fred was surprised. She knew about his daughter, which he had mentioned while drunk the other night. Fred later told Dave what had happened, and Dave teased him again, saying Fred obviously liked Laura. One day at the bar, Laura confided in her sister about how she was coping with her son. Her phone kept ringing, but she ignored the call. When her sister asked who was calling, Laura explained that it was Fred, who often reached out for comfort, though indirectly. Her sister pointed out that the distraction Laura had been looking for had finally come and advised her not to reveal her marital status to Fred. She encouraged Laura to explore the connection and supported her emotionally as the moment passed. Later that night, Laura lied to her husband to cover up the phone call from Fred. That same night, Fred came to visit Laura. She opened up and told him a part of her story, how her mother died and how she had to take over responsibilities. They spent time talking and bonding as the moment unfolded. Days later, Dave visited Fred and was curious about what was going on with him. He was shocked to learn that Fred not only paid 2 years' rent for Laura's shop, but also got her a job at his company, and was still planning to do more. Fred claimed it wasn't a big deal, but Dave was skeptical and continued teasing him as they shared laughs. That night, Laura updated her sister about everything. However, she also admitted that despite all the pain Mr. Frank had caused her, she still held him in high regard, even though he constantly mistreated her. Meanwhile, Fred was texting someone while Laura was at home, happily spending time with her son. At Fred's office, Laura arrived for her job interview. Fred gifted her something to hint that she had already gotten the job. She felt flattered and grateful. Later that day, Mr. Frank questioned Laura about a package she brought home. She lied, saying it was for a customer. He warned her to be careful and walked away. Though she was hurt, Laura managed to smile. The next day, Laura came to Fred and excitedly told him that she had secured a contract for the company. Fred celebrated her achievement and asked her out to dinner, but she told him she needed time to think about it. Fred went home feeling overjoyed. Meanwhile, Mr. Frank was about to pick up a call from Laura's phone when she quickly took it and lied again. He warned her that if he ever saw her with another man, there would be trouble. Guys, what do you think will happen when Fred finds out that Laura is married? We can guess his reaction, but let's see how things unfold. The next day at the office, Laura thanked Fred for checking on her. He insisted she come over to his place that weekend, and she said she would think about it. Later that night, Laura told her sister about Fred's invitation. Her sister encouraged her to go, but Laura was hesitant because of her values and the fact that she was still married. Still, we'll have to wait and see if she decides to go. The following day, Laura visited Fred, who was very excited to see her. As they enjoyed each other's company, Fred asked her about her relationship status. Laura lied, not telling him the truth about her marriage. The next day at work, Laura approached Fred looking worried. He opened up to her about his ex-wife, who was getting married in 2 days. He explained how she had used him as a distraction to move on from her ex, the same man she was now marrying, and how she had made him father a child that wasn't his. Laura listened and comforted him. Weeks later, Mr. Frank informed Laura that he would be traveling for 2 weeks. Shockingly, he also said he planned to bring another woman into their home, making her the 4th wife. When Laura accused him of cheating, he denied it, belittled her, and then left. The next day, while Laura and Fred were spending time together and having fun, Laura noticed the message written on a card, which revealed that Fred saw her as his girlfriend. Later, Laura told her sister about this and said she was considering telling Fred the truth because of the painful experience he had shared with her about his ex-wife. Her sister advised her to wait for the right time before revealing anything. Although Laura knew it was risky, she listened to her sister's advice. Guys, do you think this is the right way to handle the situation? Or what would you have suggested she do instead? At the office, Dave tried to remind Fred of his past experiences so that he would be careful with Laura. But Fred didn't pay attention to him. Eventually, Dave changed his tone and admitted that Laura seemed like a good person. That weekend, Fred made breakfast for Laura, and they enjoyed a sweet moment together. Later that day, Laura called the woman who usually took care of her son and asked her to look after him again since she was away. She even sent her some money as appreciation. Soon after, Fred arrived, and they spent more time enjoying each other's company. One day, while Fred and Laura were together, he asked her about a call she had received, and she lied to him. Later that night, when Fred was about to pick up her phone, she quickly grabbed it and lied again. Fred started to grow suspicious. The next day at work, Dave was surprised that Fred had allowed Laura into his house so soon. But Fred, not wanting to risk losing her, admitted that he had strong feelings for her. They laughed and enjoyed their conversation. On Saturday morning, Laura packed her things and lied to Fred, telling him that her aunt had returned from a trip and was at her place. Fred insisted on driving her home, but she refused. As she kept trying to ignore a repeated incoming call, Fred grew impatient and threatened her, demanding she answer the call on loudspeaker. When she did, another man's voice came through. Furious, Fred immediately kicked her out of his house. Laura's sister comforted her and apologized for the advice she had given, which ended up ruining the love Laura had finally found. It was a painful moment for her. The next day, Dave scolded Fred for ignoring his earlier warnings. One day, Laura told her sister that her son had been rushed to the hospital and that she needed 5 million naira for surgery. Her sister didn't have that kind of money. After much panic, Laura went to Fred and pleaded with him on her knees to save her son. Moved with compassion, Fred sent her the money, and she rushed to the hospital. Later, Laura thanked her sister for accommodating her and her son. Mr. Frank had thrown them out of the house and brought in 2 other women. Thankfully, her son's surgery was successful, and all thanks went to Fred. Her sister encouraged her to go and properly thank Fred, and also urged her to file for divorce from Mr. Frank so she could finally be free. This brought some hope to Laura after everything she had been through. Laura went to see Fred, knelt down, and sincerely appreciated him for everything he had done. She then told him the full story of what had happened in her life. She explained how she once saw her mother in prison with wounds all over her body because of the debt she owed to Mr. Frank. Laura had pleaded with him to release her mother, but he refused. So, to save her mother, Laura agreed to work for Mr. Frank under a 10-year contract. When she started working, she found out that Mr. Frank had 2 wives and 7 grown children whom he had already sent away. He took advantage of Laura many times, and she ended up having a son for him. He would beat her repeatedly. Unfortunately, because the legal process was slow, her mother died. Laura confessed all this to Fred and apologized for keeping the truth from him. Laura's sister encouraged her to stay strong for herself and for her son. She reminded her that things would eventually get better. Fred later shared everything Laura told him with Dave. Dave conducted a background check and confirmed that Laura was telling the truth. He felt her pain and asked Fred what he planned to do next. Then he left. Fred picked up his phone and made a call. That night, Fred spent time with Laura and forgave her. He told her he understood how hard it is to be a single mother. Then he confessed his love for her, and she did the same. It was a touching moment. Days later, Fred successfully sued Mr. Frank, who was sent to jail for all the harm he had caused Laura. She thanked Fred deeply, and he promised to stand by her. He told her how much he loved her and was ready to be with her on this journey. One day, Fred surprised Laura by proposing to her, and she said yes. Wow! What an emotional and powerful movie. It teaches us not to judge people based on their mistakes. Everyone has a story, and we should listen before jumping to conclusions. True love stands by someone through the storms. Always be a person of integrity. Never use your power or wealth to take advantage of the less privileged. Instead, treat everyone with love and respect. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more interesting updates on the latest Nigerian movies. See you next time.